Let's go, I said. I pulled open the thin stomach drawer of the desk and laid the banner fragment inside, then scooped up the magnifying glass and my sketchbook. Cammy, I said as we clumped down the stairs, did you tell anybody else about the bench? My dad. I laid my sweater across the bench so nobody would sit on it, then ran over to Dad's shop. Then I came here. Hurry, I urged. Let's see if we can get there before your dad does. Sure enough, we got there just a step of Mr. Craiglander. We quickly examined not only the slats, but the gazebo floor. Whoever did it took the bolts, Guy said. What a dirty trick. Some old person might have gotten hurt. And the hamlet might have gotten sued, I added. What's going on here anyway? Cammy wanted to know. It looks like somebody's going all out to sabotage Country Hamlet. Okay, what's happening? Bob Cranklander was clearly not in a good mood. More vandalism, right? I've been telling Dina all along that we need a security guard. I wonder who's doing these things, I asked. What you mean what you mean this? Yeah, this and the banner and the restroom signs. Hey, it's no big puzzle. I don't think it's a grand conspiracy by an international secret society, if that's what you mean. I think they're just random acts of violence. That's why we need a guard. Mr. Craiglander glared at the bench for a while. Well, since they took the bolts with them, there's no sense leaving the bench here. I'll just take the whole thing over to my shop. Which he did, and Cammy continued on her search for computer paper. Guy, I said, let's go to our Mother Brown booth. Mother Brown's cafe wasn't like a lot of the country hamlet businesses. Most of the other shops were fairly new, but the cafe had been in business for years. Back in the olden days, somebody had built a wooden phone booth closet almost in the center of the cafe, among the booths and tables and chairs. Later, when the phone company put in a modern phone booth outside, Mother Brown owners took the phone equipment out of the little closet, installed a wooden grillwork and a tiny table, and made it into a little eating booth. It was too small for two adults, though sometimes teenagers would use it, especially if a guy and girl were in love. And it was just the right size for Guy and me to talk things over. So after buying a soda apiece from Sheila, who was at the counter, we slid inside, closed the door, and lowered our voices. Okay, I said, opening my sketchbook to a blank page. Let's make a list of clues and a list of suspects. Guy snorted. What do we have? One clue? And name me just one suspect. I thought for a minute. When he put it like that, it was hard to come up with someone. Mrs. Logan? Nah, why would she sabotage her own business? Who knows? What about those emotional problems she had before she became a Christian? I poised my pencil above the page. Well, let's start with the crimes then. Restroom signs. What about Jean Horton's purse? I drew thoughtful doodles on the paper. That's not really a Hamlet crime. Better list it just in case so that we can factor it in later. Maybe so. I wrote purse on the page. Then restroom signs. Right. Then the bench. Sharp tap of the glass part of the door interrupted us. Sheila was smiling at us in an amused manner. I opened the door. What is this? Your secret clubhouse? She asked. We glanced at each other and then I spoke. Sheila, Got a second? She glanced back at the kitchen. I guess so. It's technically my break time now, and we're not too busy. You guys want anything else from the counter? No, I said. Are you up to speed on what's been happening today? You mean about the banner? Mom told me about it. How did she hear? I'm not sure. Maybe Mrs. Logan told her when she picked up donuts here for her Bible study group. Guy asked, Did you hear about the bench? What bench? This afternoon, an old couple tried to sit down on one of the gazebo benches, and they found out that somebody had removed all the bolts. Sheila's jaw dropped. Sick. Were they hurt? Luckily not, Guy said. Cammy got her dad on it right away. What a week, she said. Right, Guy agreed. First Mrs. Horton's purse, then the signs. Wait, Guy, I interrupted. We can't really be sure the purse is tied in with this Hamlet stuff. Could be. Sheila glanced around, then lowered her voice. You ought to see some of the clients we get at the center. Like that old man the other day. You heard him yelling about his gang connections. That's just hot air, Guy objected. Maybe not, she insisted. If I were Molly Wang, I'd be careful. If they've got a vendetta against her, I shrugged. But nobody's vandalized poor Polly's pantry so far. Well, all I can say is we've got to be careful. What do you mean? Keep our eyes open, she said. Uh-oh. Here comes a customer. Gotta go. By the way, Dina Wentworth's calling a merchants meeting for tonight at 6:30. Where? I asked. Here at the cafe, in the banquet room at the back. Do they let kids come in? She grinned. I'm coming. I'm one of the regular waitresses. One of the regular waitresses is on vacation, so I'll be waiting tables. But I'm going to peek in once in a while. 6:30 found Guy and Cammy and me parked in a far corner of the banquet room, so we could whisper without bothering anyone. Listening to the action, I had my sketchbook open to take notes. I got some samples. Cammy handed me a sheaf of papers, labeled with store names. Right. Guy looked at her with respect. I told you you were good. What was your system? Cammy smiled. I just walked in and wandered over to the wastebasket area, and I glanced down and saw if there was any computer paper there. If there was, I'd say, Could I borrow this piece of paper? And I'd reach in and get it. Brilliant, whispered Guy. It's simple. Shh. I gestured toward the merchants' meeting. No, Nellie, Bob Craiglander was saying. I will not back down on this. Either we've got to call in the law for more frequent patrols, or we've got to get night security service here. If you're not into antiques, you can't really understand. What I've got in my store is one of a kind, irreplaceable stuff. I move that we look into getting a night security service. Dina Wentworth, who was chairing the meeting, looked reluctantly around the room. Do I hear a second? There was a long pause. Second, Molly Wang spoke timidly. Moved and seconded. Mrs. Wentworth, said Mrs. Wentworth. Any discussion? I object, said Nellie Melba, owner of the London bus. The minute we start calling the police or getting security guards, word will get out that the Hamlet's not a reputable place anymore. You know the kind of people we attract. Upper middle class women who are shopping for crafts and artsy things. They're a very delicate group, easy to upset. Sheila drifted in, wearing her blue and white waitress apron. We waved at her and she came over to us. Nellie, Bob said earnestly, put yourself in my place. You can always get more of the stuff you sell, but if someone broke into my shop and stole my wooden carousel horse, it would be gone for good. Don't you have insurance? Someone asked. Insurance companies don't give you full market value on things like mine. The merchants eventually voted to look into how much a night security guard would cost. And then the talk got more technical, and I got bored. But the feeling we got from the meeting was that if any more vandalism happened, something would have to be done.